Waiwa, Sm'gigyet, Likigyet, Sigedem Hananach, Kabawaalksic, Lüülgit, Sm'gigyet, Kalgigyet, Waatkł Tsm'syen, Waatkł Gan'm K'tsm'aws in the Waayu, Tsm'syen Gitsiis, Waap'm Yaganatt, Yuub'm Suu Kiiyeks, along the Kala Ksye'en, therein, Sm'gigyet Gitsiis, Waap'm Yaganatt, Sm'gigyet Yaganatt, Adaawx and Gitsiis, Waatkł, all the other houses of the Manlekagigyet, the Manlekagigyet, Adaawx. We find ourselves in Halilikluulgit, month of feasting. And normally we would have vacated the river, Suu Kiiyeks, on down beyond the bend here of Gitsiis. So we would have come out the river and around that bend into the opening of Lax Yuup or Lachman, the ocean, the sea, Kala Ksye'en, and kind of come out of our summer villages along the river. There's snow on the mountains, frost on the ground, all of that, all those markers to suggest where you are in the case of the seasons. So it's been 1 year of the rekindling of the clans. Here we have Suu Kiiyeks. We have an account of some feasts, Lüülgit, within the house of Yaganatt. And during the Hali'suwilya'ansk, they would pronounce where they got the berries from, along with laying claim to the land. So anyhow, as we're moving forward into the new season of the rekindling of the clans, or, just being Tsm'syen, we might consider Lüülgit, feasts determining as tribes where the names ought to be placed, and recognizing the Likigyet under the Sm'gigyet, 9 Sm'gigyet, and a few dozen Manlekagigyet and Likigyet and Sm'gigyet, all these leaders of houses. There was roughly between 8 to 10 houses that were at the top, quote unquote, and they all had land, more or less. Some Sm'gigyet, some Sm'gigyet, they didn't have land or Lax Yuup in Tsm'syen, for they came from Temlechem, and they got land out there, and they came here much later. For instance, Hupkagwet, as they are Gitsiis in Khyex area, Temlechem, came down here, and his descendants, khyex and Gitsiis, all of those people came along a little bit later, and so that's where your name kind of falls. So say Sm'gigyet comes into a tribal land, and his name, his title, reaches further back within the Adaawx, thus he'll be elevated. It's quite common. So there will be Sm'gigyet names within the houses, and then one will be of the highest rank, and that usually entails that they have one of the more ancient titles to the Adaawx, stretching all the way back to the house of the Creator and such, and how we descended from the heavens and then started inhabiting the rivers and such. So yes, getting all of this information and Adaawx in place as we perform Lüülgit. One thing that I would like to see, as far as Tsm'syen is concerned, is definitely all the Sm'gigyet sitting in accord with their Lax Yuup. The direction of Tsm'syen, whichever way that might go, I'm not too sure. But if it could all at least just sit down in agreement with where we do stand within Tsm'syen along Kala Ksye'en, and open up the entire river once again for Tsm'syen, and then look beyond to other nations. So that's what we've been doing within Yaganatt, Waab'm Yaganatt. We've been visiting the Squamish. We've been going to K'ts'awn, Niskat, building that relationship as it once was in the past. There wasn't really borders per se, as there was understandings of Adaawx, who we are as people, where people stand. And I wish to do that once again. We are in the process of learning ourselves, and we got many questions. So as we learn and as we grow in the understanding of Adaawx, rekindling the feasting system, opening it up to, Kala Ksye'en, as is our birthrights, and getting into the seasons once again, and getting out on our Lax Yuup, honoring the boundaries and supporting one another with whatever we can, with whatever resources that we have. And continuing that on a yearly basis, as we did in the past. We would feast basically every year. This coming season, we are preparing for Lüülgit, releasing dates and times to come. I think it's really just a tribal matter for now, where we work out our affairs, and then we'll present it to the other Sm'gigyet. And it would be really great if they were all in accord. So this coming all-native basketball tournament, a little prior to that, perhaps we'll have a welcome and a naming feast before that. Just a small affair for now, as we proclaim to the peoples that we are beginning this work of a series of 3 feasts. First and foremost, wear our names as our ancestors have passed. And then the following year, we would actually take on their names and wear them. So the Feast of Red, Wuwaab'm Tsm'syen. And so Wuwaab'm Tsm'syen, you then take up the regalia of the ancestors that have passed. And then it's followed up by the Adaawx, the pound feast, strengthening your name. And then, of course, the 4th and final feast, the Adaawx feast, where you are considered the living embodiment of the ancestral title. And indeed, you become Sm'gigyet. And at some time, you will do the Baxmaga Luulgit and raise your pitsan and stand up in your uncle's place and stand your history up, your crests, the Adaawx. It's all in order, and lay claim to the lands. And then as you're doing the Lüülgit, you'll do the Hali'suwilya'ansk. I got the berries from so-and-so. And so there's an interesting dynamic in this case, where a lot of the berries were taken off of a different tribe's Lax Yuup. And indeed, it is a modern thing for us to basically harvest wherever we want. The few that do harvest as well. So it'd be great if there was more understanding of that and more utilization of the land as well. I think it's being underutilized and unoccupied. So it would be interesting if we could have a little more picnics out here. Use some Sm'algyax, speak our language, gather, preserve, and then Lüülgit. Feast, support one another, stay in contact with one another. You don't necessarily have to agree or support it, but at least you understand where everybody's at. And have that open dialogue and strengthen the clans up and down the coast once again. In closing, one of the main things that we're going to be focusing on moving forward is, of course, lineage. So our house and Beteach, Wilnat Al, our mother side, where they come from, Wiltsawact, determining where they come from, where one comes from, and lineage, Adaawx, and then the land. Because you'll notice that the more you go into details, the more these names come to life. And now those names are being shared amongst our family. And how does that name attach to the Adaawx? Then you might understand a little more where they stand and where they come from. And then all of the events in the Adaawx happened in real places along Kala Ksye'en and up and down the coast as well. So revisiting these places, reconnecting with those, the harvesting, Hali'suwilya'ansk, into the Lüülgit, and taking care of one another and rising each other up as we did in the past. So I look forward to keeping you guys up to date as we prepare ourselves for the feasts to come. Now, of course, much discussion still needs to happen. We are in the preliminary stages, but it is our honest intentions to move forward and encourage all of Tsm'syen to start pushing forward, standing their houses up, reconnecting with the land, and reconnecting with the Adaawx, reconnecting under Adaawx.